Hello there and welcome back to Kev's Hobby Showcase, and I'm of course Kevin. You may have also seen me on Tabletop Drones Productions, where John and I are the two idiots playing board games. And today is going to be part 4 of a series that I've been doing, the House Davion Force. So part 1, I did a lance of battle mechs. Part 2, I did a lance of vehicles, mainly tanks. Last one, part 3, I was doing the battle armor or the infantry. So now part 4, I got more tanks. So here we go. So first, we got 2 Shrek tanks, and I was tempted to yell donkey, but I decided not to. And a pair of Pegasus tanks, hover tanks. So, as you can see, the next step is to prime them, and then after that, we start with the base coats. So, stay tuned, and I will be right back. Okay, welcome back. Here I am outside, ready to prompt. Sorry, I usually get his gloves on first before I start recording. Alright. So, obviously it's not going to take too long. These pieces are pretty small. So here we go. Try to get every inch of them. I didn't do that last time when I went to vehicles. Because I actually needed to get the underside of them, and I neglected to do that. Okay. Last one. Okay. And that's it. All 4 are now primed. Alright, so of course next is the base coat. So of course I'll go back inside and do that, so stay tuned and I will be right back. Alright, I'm back, and that primer on these tanks have now dried, so let's get to it, right? Let's start with the base coat. Let's get this on my head. Oh, there we go. Sorry about the jerkiness of that, but looks like I tightened it too much. Alright. Alright. Okay. Alright, so. Like I said in a reel that I put out, I try to put out these little videos to promo what's coming. I got a late start today. I was all set to start my videos today, and the phone rang and a caller ID said it was my mom, so I picked up, of course. First words, I need help. I was like, okay. He's like, what do you need help with? Yeah, so her and my sister needed my help to put an air conditioner, like one of those ones that go in the window. So, when mom asks for help, you go and help her. And it's not like she does that to me all the time, because she, she lives like a borough away from me. I'm in Staten Island, she's in Brooklyn. Yes, I grew up in Brooklyn. As Ed Norton on The Honeymooners once said, it's the sunshine of America. Always like that. I always like that line that he said from on The Honeymooners. Okay. Well, alright, so with this tank here, I don't need to put the paint too much on those 3 ginormous guns. So yeah, when I come back with details, and I do that. Basically, going to put those in. I'm going to paint those the color of the gunmetal. Color of the gunmetal. Actually, hold on. Before I move on from this one. Yeah, just realize as I was doing it, as I was getting paint in between the guns on this one, that I did not do it on that one. All right. Okay. So yeah, got it. Like I said, got a late start, but that's okay. I get everything done. This video might not get put together until late, but it's still gonna get put together before the end of the weekend. And boy, oh boy, what a week this was. We had a couple of days where we were being cooked, basically. I mean, it was horrible. So yeah, it was like on Tuesday. I mean, I had already had off, but I had a doctor's appointment, so I had already had the day scheduled off, which was incredible. Like luck being that day on Tuesday, I think we topped off at 103 degrees. It was freaking hot, and I was having a bit of a hard time getting to my doctor's appointment because a bus that is like right outside the cul-de-sac that I live in, that would go all the way, well, that would go halfway there, and that would take me to the avenue that I would basically be switching over to the bus that takes me like right outside my doctor's office. It wasn't running, and there was no notification that it wasn't running, that the service was suspended for the day. So yeah, that was not very pleasant to deal with. So I was standing waiting for that bus for about an hour. Was when at about the hour mark was when I finally said, screw it, let me, I took out my phone and I said, Google. And it said, I mentioned the bus line. I said, is it running today? And it came back that the service was suspended. I was like, boy, they could have put a freaking notification on the bus stops to let everybody know that there's no bus coming. But I guess that was just a bit too much to do. Yeah, so, I mean, I had contacted them, my doctor's office already, to let them know I was going to be late, and I even said why I was going to be late. But if that was the only thing that aggravated me that day, the day would have been just great. It wasn't. So, of course, I use my central air sparingly usually, but for basically I couldn't use it pretty much at all on Tuesday because the local power company was cutting back on the voltage. And I say this because on Monday my central air worked perfectly fine. On Tuesday it would go on for like a minute and then it would shut off. And I thought, I mean, my first instinct, of course, was that it was on the fritz again because I've had this for a while. But when I talked to my mom, I found out that like 3 of her air conditioners were kind of doing the same thing. They were not, like, I think they would stay on, but they weren't cooling off the place. And I'm like, there's no way, that's too much of a coincidence. Yeah, so that continued the aggravation. But anyway, as you have just seen, there we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, as you see, I just finished. The base coat is now finished. I'm going to let that paint dry, and when I come back, I'm going to start with the details. I'm going to do gunmetal on as always on what looks like a weapon, which with the tanks, it's not as much as you would find on the Battletechs. For the Shrek tanks, I'm going to use gunmetal on the treads. On the Pegasus tanks, I'm going to use gunmetal on what would be basically like the. It's like when they have hover tanks, it's like it's like they got this big cushion on the bottom. I think I mentioned this the last time when I was talking about the Condor tanks. So yes, I'll be painting the bottom of it, bottom of that gunmetal, and of course, what looks like the would be like the, like a window for whoever's piloting or driving, the tank. I'll paint that in gunmetal. I did have to go a bit onto the sides of the base, so I'm gonna eventually touch that up in black. But also, as with the other models that I painted, basically I'm going to be doing that the blue, white, and red stripe, and just got to figure out where I want to put it, and that's what I'll do. So first things first, got to let this paint dry, and when I come back, I'm going to get all that done. All right, so stay tuned, and I will be right back. I'm back, and that base coat is now dry, and we're going to start on details. All right, so let's just get on to it. All right. Okay. So we don't need that no more. Here we go. Take out the gunmetal, and we'll start with this color. So as I was saying earlier, I was talking about this excessive heat that we've been having. So yeah, so like I said, if it, I had mentioned the whole bit with the bus stop. And like I said, if it had just ended with that, aggravation had just ended with that, it would have been a really good day. But it didn't. So, like I said, basically we were working on low voltage for the day because basically, the central air was really not staying on, and I do, basically say that the electric company, local, had us on low voltage because my mother, like I said, she had the she was saying 3 of her air conditioners weren't cooling the house off at all, and there's no freaking way all 3 of those air conditioners are breaking down at the same time. And also, after I had gone back to work, some of my coworkers were saying, like they were experiencing like the same type of thing. So anyway, so yeah, so now, basically, like I said, we're we're so I'm sitting in here. It's like over 100 degrees, and I got basically all I'm, the only thing I got going is the fans. I got, I do have this, like in this area, I have a ceiling fan right above me, and I have a ceiling fan in the room next to me because it's like the living room, dining room area is just, one big open area. And, so I got those 2 fans going, and the house was not very comfortable at all. It was very uncomfortable in here. And then get to the evening, and the power goes out. I mean, totally out. Like, just everything just shuts off, and I'm like, oh no. So now, I mean, the sun hadn't set yet, but it was close to. But even so, it was. Oh, I think I just put my thumb where I painted. So anyway, it was. I mean, like I said, everything was out. So we had no AC, no fans, and it was still over 100 degrees, which really sucked. And so now I'm thinking, oh crap. Basically my first thought is like, I'm not really going to get any sleep tonight, am I? Because when the weather is really hot and muggy and stuffy, and if I don't have anything even remotely cooling me off, I'm not going to sleep. And if I do manage to fall asleep, it's not going to be very restful. But amazingly enough, we still had our cell tower because I still had a cell phone signal. which means either whatever, and I do believe that we were shut off. So I'm figuring however it went, whatever they excuse me, shut off didn't include the cell tower, or the cell tower runs off a battery backup, just in case of blackouts. Well, either way, still we got a cell phone signal, so I was able to make the call I needed to make, because I'm thinking, I'm not going to get any sleep. So then next day I was like, scheduled to go into work, so I called in for like I think the last short notice day that I can take, and I was like, I have to take it. Like I didn't want to, but I knew how it was going to be if I didn't. It was going to be terrible. And so basically now, I was able to do that. I was able to get through. It took about 5 tries, but I finally got through, and I was able to do it. Excuse me. And so I had, so I took the day. I told them I wasn't coming in the next day, and everything was approved. Everything was okay. And at 10:30, the power, or I should say, the power was turned back on. So I was like, okay, but still, tried the central air again, because it was really, really hot in the house. And the same thing was happening. It would go on for a minute and then it would shut off. And that's when I was really convinced that we were, pretty much being messed with, that they would playing games with the power supply. But what could I do about it? Absolutely nothing. So I was like, all right, glad I took the day. And but I was so frustrated. I didn't turn the air off. It wasn't on. I figured, okay, it's not drawing power, so screw it. I just left it. And during the course of the night, I started in my bedroom, but it was so uncomfortable up there. I wound up coming down here and sleeping on the couch, because at least then I could be under the ceiling fan, which cooled me off quite a bit more than the little fan I have in my bedroom. And at around 4 o'clock, which is around the time I would have gotten up for work anyway, that's when the central air started, much to my surprise, and it stayed on for like at least a half hour. I was like, oh. And like that, and that's pretty much confirmed what I suspected about about what was going on. So I'm like, okay, all right. At that point it was like too little, too late. I think I wound up turning the air off at that point. I don't even know why I did that, but I did. I think mainly because I just didn't feel like running around the house shutting windows, especially with my kids still asleep. Yeah, they actually got some sleep. I didn't. They were able to manage it. But so I wound up staying home Wednesday, and it was really another hot and miserable day. It wasn't in triple digits like Tuesday was, but it was still pretty damn hot. So it got to the point during the day where I turned to the kids and I said, all right, I've had enough. Let's see if this punk ass AC unit can actually stay on for a while. So I turned it on, and it stayed on. So I was like, all right, let's start shutting windows. And that was it. And then I was like, okay, this kind of confirmed a lot of my suspicions, because it made no sense, and it still makes no sense that it could be, that the central air could be working perfectly fine. It worked perfectly fine on Monday. Obviously, it was going back to working perfectly fine on Wednesday, but on Tuesday, it wouldn't work at all. So, So, yeah, that's my story about our really horrific heat wave. Just one of the things you got to deal with in life, I suppose. And I know I made some accusations just now towards the power company, which is why I'm not naming them by name, because the last thing I need, if any of them were to come across this, is for them to sue me, even though everything I said is 100% true. Yeah. But, you know, see how things progress from there, I suppose. But anyway, you know, I just gotta hope, I really do hope that we don't get hit with another heat wave like that for the rest of the summer, because that was terrible. That was really, really horrible. And while I'm yapping, so I managed to pretty much do all I needed to do with the gunmetal color. Alright. Now we do the stripes. And after the stripes, I'll take care of the base if it needs to be taken care of. I mean, whoops. Sorry for any of the noise you hear in the background. My neighbors are outside their place and, you know, playing music and all that stuff. Oops. Whoa, no, let's not do that. Okay, so where to put, you know what? I can put the stripe right here. So do that on the Shrek tanks. And on the Pegasus, I'm going to do it right here on the front. Okay. I think I just got it. There we go. Okay. Alright. So there's that. Now we're going to do the, you know what? Do the red. Do the red next. Alright. Okay. Alright, and now we'll just do the red stripe right next to it. Okay. Okay, once again, I do apologize for the noise in the background. There's really nothing I can do about it. Because I guarantee you they're not going to care that I am recording. Alright, almost done with this. Okay. The only thing I could do is just keep talking over it. I suppose. I don't want to get sued because of music I have no control over. Alright, now the blue. And after this, touch up the base. Let me get myself a good brush for this. This looks like a good brush as any. Alright. I don't think that's going to give me that much. Alright. Alright. Okay. Alright. Whoops. Oh well, nothing. It's not always going to be perfect, right? Alright. And there we go. Almost. Almost done with the stripe. That's one thing about this identifying little design, like the stripe design, is that it isn't that hard to do, except when when the paint runs like that. Okay, now there's that, and that. Now I gotta basically take out the black paint and see what bases need to be touched up. And then it's basically waiting for those to dry before I can, yeah, this one needs to be touched up. It's basically then waiting for these to dry so that I can do the labels and all that stuff. Alright. Okay, just a little bit. Don't really need to do all of it. I'm trying not to, at least. Alright. Oh, got a little bit there. Got a little bit there. And oh, a little bit back there. Alright. Okay. That's it for those. Now let's see with this. Oh, got a little bit, whoops, a little bit back there. A little bit here and there. No, it's not too much, not as bad as I thought it was. I thought I had gotten a lot more paint on the sides of this base. Or I should say these bases. And hold on. Alright. Okay. Almost. Okay. Alright. So, as far as details go, that's it. That's all that has to be done. The only thing left is doing the base. Obviously, that's including the labels. Alright. Yeah, it's doing the base. Like I said, obviously it includes the labels. Doing the wash. And well, I'm sorry, yeah, doing the base meaning the terrain and the labels. And if you remember, I don't know if you remember from the last time I did the tanks, because there's such a little bit of the area that's actually exposed. There's not a lot that's going to go on there, so it should go quickly. And then the wash, and it's all finished. All right, so stay tuned. I will be right back, and we'll get this all finished up. Okay, I'm back, and as usual, I left one set of labels to be put on one of the pieces to be done on camera. I did the rest off camera, so let's get to it, because we got that, then the base, then the wash, and it's finished. Alright, so once again, I do apologize for the noise in the background. Many of us across the street are hanging out outside, and they're playing music and all that stuff. I just really hope I don't get in trouble if any of that music is recognized on this video. Yeah, so the only best I can do is just keep talking over it, I suppose. So yeah, that's what I'm going to attempt to do, at least. Alright, it's got stuck to my finger. Alright, and okay. Alrighty, so that's that. Now, okay, so as usual, gonna do the terrain. It's got a little dab here, a little dab there, and all right. So I'll get the end of the side like that. Spread it around on each side. Like I said, with like what I learned from the last time with the vehicles, there's not really a lot of base to cover, so just got to make sure you do it just right. All right, I'm going to try to cover, I guess, just enough of it to, and also try not to cover the labels entirely. All right, not too bad. Maybe on these I don't have to go underneath as much. All right. On each side. Maybe a little bit, but what I can do is, with what's on the brush, just put that a little bit onto here in the front, because it's sure as heck is not going to go all the way through. And put a little bit here in the back. All right, now go through this. All right. All right. Okay. Not too bad. Not too bad. Now for the Pegasus tanks. I almost called them condors. That's what I did the last time. Alright, obviously this one I don't have to worry about anything for as far as underneath the vehicle, because you can't get to underneath the vehicle. It's all going to be on the side. Alright. Okay, a little bit there. A little bit there. I think I got some on my finger because it feels kind of weird. Alright, oh. Okay, alright. Not too bad, not too bad. And it's not messing up too much because it is a hover tank. Now, one last one, and then we can go straight to the wash. Alright. Almost done with this. Look at that. We are almost done. Okay. Alright. I can wash. Well, I'll just wipe off the glue off of that one. Like I said, the brush that I use for that glue, I use just for that glue because, once you get glue in those bristles, that's it. You're never going to use it for actual painting ever again. I think I wiped off too much. All right, that's not too bad. All right. The only drawback I'm finding with the way I do this terrain sometimes is, every now and again, the terrain will start sticking to my fingers. All right, so here we go. About to finish them off. Got the wash left, and that's it. Okay. Oh, and if you heard that cackling just now, that was my son upstairs. Okay. Okay. Let's keep going with the wash. As I've described many times, the purpose of the wash is to get into all those little crevices and kind of make them all stand out. And once I realized and once I learned what the wash does, very few times do I not use it. All right. Although I will admit, on occasion, I do use too much. But this is not one of those occasions. All right. Yeah. All right, one more tank and we're done. Look at that. This actually went pretty smoothly from top to bottom. And of course, the last part of this series is going to be the second lance of tanks. And I'm sorry, not tanks. The second lance of battle mechs. All right. All right, we are done. All right, now we get them ready to present. All right. Oops, let me turn that around. The second lance of tanks, ready to deploy for the House Davion. Okay. Alrighty, so that's all I have for today. Please like, subscribe, and share this video as much as possible. Please also go to Tabletop Jones Productions and do the same there. On this channel, I am up to 34 subscribers. I would like to make it to 40, so any support you can give would be appreciated. And of course, by support, just mean by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video. That's basically all I need you to do, if you want to help at all. All right, so anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you like watching. Hope you liked the job I did. And I mean, I haven't mentioned it in a while, but if you have any painting jobs you want to show off, please put it in the comments section. I'd love to see it. All right, so thank you very much for watching. You take care of yourself and you have a great day. I'll see you again.